Husky Game Prep is brought to you by Gate City Bank, proud supporter of your Huskies. Stop by and ask us about our low interest rates to finally buy that new snowmobile or ice house you've been waiting for. Contact any of our 43 locations across North Dakota and central Minnesota, and of course around the St. Cloud area. Gate City Bank, for a better way of life. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Hey, Huskies fans, welcome back into Week 3 of Huskies Game Prep. Sam Getzinger here with you, and joining me, our first guest of the show today, as always, head coach of the men's hockey team, Brett Larson. Coach, you're 2 weeks down in the NCHC pod. You only got a couple of games left. Are you excited to head back home here pretty soon?
Well, part of it, yes, but you want to finish strong. So we've come this far. I think this is day 16 now in the pod, maybe 17 for us. So I know it's coming to the end, but we've got 3 huge games coming up, starting with a huge rival with North Dakota. So the fun's not over. We've got a few battles left before we get out of here.
And we'll talk about those games coming up in a couple of moments. But, of course, the fall semester here at St. Cloud State's coming to an end, just like the pod play. And I wanted to ask you, how are the guys doing handling their finals and everything over there in Omaha?
Well, it's been interesting. So the pod brings a lot of different challenges, right? So we've had to adjust some of our practices and meetings the last couple of days because of finals. Normally we meet tonight, the night before a game, and kind of have our last pre-scout meeting as far as preparing for the other team. We changed that to lunch today. Some of the guys have finals this evening, this afternoon. So learning how to deal with it. And our motto coming in the pod was you got to be flexible and you got to be able to roll with it. So far, so good. Guys, hopefully will have things finishing up here a little bit and then be ready to go tomorrow against North Dakota.
Well, that's good to hear. Before we talk about those games coming up, let's touch on last week. And, of course, things started this past Wednesday against Western Michigan. It took the first loss in pod play to Western Michigan, but that's a Western Michigan team that's really found a groove in the past couple of days. And then on Saturday, you knock off the number 1 team in the country in the University of North Dakota 5-3. The power play starts to find some success there, and I think it was an overall really well-played game. And then this past Sunday, it was a 2-0 loss to Nebraska Omaha, but at least in my opinion, I feel like the score didn't really reflect the play of that game.
Yeah, actually, I thought we played hard that game. We had a lot of jump, a lot of energy, maybe not quite as sharp as we'd like to be in some of our puck plays, but that's this league. If you don't play your A game, there's a chance you might lose. We probably had our A- game that night. We thought we played pretty well. A couple things we got to clean up. That game, we had 2 2-on-1s in the first 4 minutes of the game, created a bunch of momentum early. And if you score on one of those, it might be a little bit different. But Omaha did a good job. They kept getting in the net. They got a screen goal that went in and grabbed some momentum. So even though we outshot them, I think it was 41-21 and played a pretty good game in this league. Man, if you don't bring your best, there's a chance you might not win. And Omaha's a really good team and took advantage of that.
And, of course, the win against North Dakota, what did you like from your team on Saturday?
Just our compete level. I mean, anytime you play those guys, you have to bring your compete level. You got to play with passion. Obviously, you got to play to your game plan, but I really liked our team's jump, willingness to block shots, do whatever it took. Our penalty kill had a big night against a really good power play. I do know going into that game tomorrow, we can't take 5 penalties. We got to find a way to stay out of that box just a little bit more. There's been a couple games where that's really hurt us, and that power play is too good to keep giving them opportunities. So we're going to have to play hard but smart and disciplined.
So let's circle back to Sunday night a little bit, because Joey Lamarr gets his first collegiate start in between the pipes, and that's a week after Jackson Castor, fellow sophomore, gets the start against Nebraska Omaha the week before. I thought his play was really well. He was tested early, and he was forced to make a couple of big saves. What did you like from his performance?
Yeah, I liked him. I liked to compete. His first start, that's a big deal in college hockey, and I think he saw quickly how good this league is. He had a couple mop-up performances last year, but getting the start was a whole new deal for him, and I thought he handled it really well.
Most definitely. Now let's look ahead in the NCHC pod. Wednesday, you take on the University of North Dakota, familiar foe. You placed them last Saturday. And then, of course, you're taking on Colorado College on Friday in Denver on Saturday. Wednesday and Friday, 7:35 puck drops, and Saturday, that's a 4:05 puck drop. What are some things you're hoping to see out of the Huskies going into these next 3 games? And for North Dakota specifically, what do you want to carry over from Saturday's game into Wednesday's game?
Well, we got to keep our momentum going with our races to pucks. We need to be first on pucks. We need to be possessing it a little bit more. with North Dakota, if you're losing races, they're in your end all night. They just kind of body blow you, and it takes its toll. So our ability to get to pucks, exit the zone quickly, try to wear their D down a little bit with our quickness up front is going to be really important. So trying to set the tone that way, using our speed, using our quickness, win those races to pucks, be able to keep it, dictate the pace of the game a little bit in our favor would be a big help. And like I just told you, not letting that power play get too many opportunities. They're pretty deadly.
Most definitely. Huskies are 4-2 in the NCHC pod. 2 weeks down, only one more week to go. 3 games coming up against North Dakota, Colorado College, and Denver. Coach, best of luck to you in the upcoming games, and safe travels back here to St. Cloud, and have a good holiday season.
Yeah, same to you. Thanks for having me. Merry Christmas.
Thanks, Coach. Coming up, Mick Hatton on Huskies Game Prep.
Huskies fans, reminder that Huskies Game Prep is brought to you by Gate City Bank, proud supporter of SCSU Athletics. Gate City Bank, for a better way of life. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Hello and welcome back into Huskies Game Prep Week 3, brought to you by Gate City Bank. Sam Getzinger here with you, and joining me now is our next guest from therinklive.com, Mick Hatton. Mick, how you doing today?
Doing well. How are you, Sam?
I'm doing pretty well. And this past week in the NCHC pod was rather interesting for St. Cloud State. Let's run it through the schedule once again. It was a loss to Western Michigan, 2-1 on Wednesday. And then the following game, it was a win against the number 1 ranked team in the country in the University of North Dakota, 5-3. And then most recently on Sunday, it was a 2-0 loss to Omaha. So a couple of losses sandwiched in between a win there for St. Cloud State. What was some of your overall thoughts in week 2?
I think the one maybe dud out of the group for St. Cloud State was that loss to Western Michigan. I don't think they really ever kind of got their legs moving properly, and then Brett Larson, they got down 2-0 in the third period, and after that second goal, Brett Larson had to take a timeout about less than a minute after that goal, because he just didn't like the demeanor of the team out there. And they played better down the stretch of that game, and had some pressure, were able to get a goal really late in that game. But just overall, they kind of felt like they got outworked a little bit, and Western Michigan really kind of played like a desperate team, and a team that executed its game plan really well on St. Cloud State, and kept them from really getting their feet moving as well. So it was kind of a combination of things. North Dakota was the big game, I guess, of the week for St. Cloud State. I thought they played a very good game kind of all throughout. They got the lead early. They finally got 2 power play goals. That was a great sign for St. Cloud State. I thought David Rennick was good in goal. They were, I think it was 5 for 5 on the penalty kill in that game. So, I mean, they really did everything that they needed to do to beat, the top-ranked team in the country. I know that North Dakota is down a few players to the World Juniors and stuff, but that still was a big win for St. Cloud State. The next day, against Nebraska, Omaha, I didn't think they played bad, and Brett Larson said the same thing after the game. He thought that they did everything but score. They ran into a hot goalie, Austin Roden from Nebraska Omaha, with 41 saves in that game, including 18 in the third period. That was huge for them. But here's where Omaha did a better job than St. Cloud State. They got people to the front of the net and kind of took away Joey Lamar's eyes. Lamarr was getting his first start and goal on the 2 goals that they scored. Joey played fine. He had a couple of great saves on the penalty kill. Stopped a power play break. While St. Cloud State was on a power play, they had a shorthanded breakaway on him. He stopped that. So I thought Lamarr had a good game, but St. Cloud State had a lot of shots, but they didn't necessarily have a lot of second shots. Now, some of that was Roden swallowing things up in goal. Some of it was, Nebraska Omaha doing a good job of clearing stuff out wide, but some of it was just St. Cloud State not getting to the front of the net enough. So here they sit, they're 4-2, they're sitting in second place. And if you told them going into this through 6 games that they'd be there, they would have taken that.
Yeah, most definitely. And you touched on it a little bit. The goalie play as a whole so far in the NCHC pod, but whether it be Joey Lamarr, David Rennick, Jackson Castor, has been very impressive. And of course, Joey Lamarr got the start this past Sunday, 1 week after fellow sophomore Jackson Castor got the start. And if you're a Husky fan, you have to be happy with the backup situation that St. Cloud State has going right now, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's an interesting, take that Brett Larson and the coaching staff have had, I guess, on playing all three of these guys here through 6 games. There isn't another team in the pod so far that's started all three of their goalies. A few of the teams, Western Michigan quickly comes to mind because of injury. They've had to play 3 goalies, but St. Cloud State is the only team that started 3 goalies, so they clearly have confidence in all 3 of those guys, and that is a very good sign for the team. That and it's good for those guys to get starts in early on in the season and just feel like they're a part of things. I think sometimes if a starting goalie just plays endlessly, and then all of a sudden you're forced into a situation, or the starting goalie has a bad game. Now you haven't had anything on you for weeks or months, and that can be really rough on goaltending. So it was good to see from that standpoint too.
So we're 2 weeks into the pod, and you mentioned it. We're 4-2, pretty good start for St. Cloud State, second in the conference rankings. But one thing that's really evaded the Huskies so far this season is the power play. Now, they did have success against North Dakota, going 2 for 5, but didn't really have much success against UNO. I believe they were 0 for 3, and that was the same for Western Michigan. They just couldn't get anything going. But on the flip side of that, their PK has been very impressive. So what are you seeing from this special teams 2 weeks in that makes the PK so good, but the power play just not quite there yet?
On the penalty kill, I think one of the things that's really been impressive is just their willingness to kind of sell out and block shots. I mean, they've done a really good job positionally and done a very good job of just adjusting to the situations that in the different styles of power plays that they're seeing. I mean, North Dakota runs them. For example, North Dakota runs a much different power play than Nebraska Omaha does, and they had success against both of them. So I mean, I think their ability to adapt to those different styles has been really good. Nick Oliver, I know, runs the penalty kill for St. Cloud State, and give him a lot of credit. He was a good penalty kill guy. He was a guy who would eat a lot of pucks himself. So I think you can kind of see his imprint on the penalty kill. On the power play, I thought the last 2 games, I mean, the game against North Dakota, the game against Omaha, they were better on the power play finally. Their zone entries were just awful, I thought, to begin the pod. The first 4 games, they had a tough time getting the puck into the zone. They had a tough time getting to the puck and getting to the puck and getting set up and getting established into the zone. They just did a lot of puck chasing. Excuse me, it's a little early apparently. But, when you're puck chasing and you're on the power play, that's just a recipe for not going to have success. The last 2 games, better with that, and they've had some grade A chances both the last 2 games.
And we only have 1 week left in the NCHC pod. And I know you're there. It must feel pretty weird to think that, hey, we're done here pretty soon. It seems like it just started, at least from my perspective. Maybe for you, since you've been there, you might be a little happy to head home for the holidays here pretty soon. But for the Huskies, they have University of North Dakota coming up on Wednesday. After that, CC on Friday, and then Denver coming up on Saturday. So besides going 3-0, if you're the Huskies, what are you looking for? What are your expectations for the next 3 games?
Well, it's just raising the level of play, for them. In particular, I mean, if you're talking North Dakota and Denver, those 2 teams are to me, they're the top 2 teams in terms of talent in the league. Now, I think UMD might be the best team out of the 3, but I think if you're looking at just straight talent, North Dakota and Denver are right there. And they beat both those teams earlier, so there's going to be an edge to both of them, and they're going to want to kind of right the ship, against St. Cloud State. So they're going they're going to have to raise the level of what they did, in both those first meetings against those teams in order to kind of match that and find ways to get wins there. They're going to have to find a way to maybe replicate what they did against North Dakota the first time, which is they have to win that special teams battle. If they can find a way to be a +2 again on special teams against either one of those teams, that'll give them a good chance to win those games. But that's a very tough road to hoe. CC has had kind of had a very interesting week. They came into it was their first week in the pod because of they had a positive COVID-19 test. They had a little bit of a rough game. I think it was I want to say it was against North Dakota, where they got kind of handled a little bit. But then they turn around. They beat Minnesota Duluth in their last game, and I don't care how tired Minnesota Duluth is and everything else. That was a huge win for them. They got a shorthanded goal. They got a power play goal from Grant Cruikshank, and got some really good goaltending from their backup goalie in that start. So it's a tough week for St. Cloud State. So it'll be interesting to see how they come out of this.
It is a tough week indeed. Huskies are 4-2 heading into the final week of games. They have North Dakota coming up on Wednesday. That is a 7:35 puck drop from the pod in Nebraska, Omaha. Mick, enjoy this final week and get home safely and enjoy your holidays.
Hey, thank you so much, Sam. Same to you.
And thank you for joining us here on Husky Game Prep. We'll be back again when the Huskies get out of the pod.